I'm sorry, gang. Sorry to meet
No
you.
problem.
Okay, very good. We're good, Dylan? We're
One
good.
second.
We're good. I'd like to call this, I'm sorry, yes, we're good?
Now
Very
we're good.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, special public budget meeting, the Ridgewood Village Council, February 9th, 2021. The time is 5:03 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled, same as provided by law, of a schedule including the date and time of this meeting. Due to the fact that we continue to meet through a remote meeting format, there are some required announcements to be made, and the deputy mayor will make those right now.
All right, all participants are muted during this meeting. Anyone wishing to make comments may do so during comments from the public and during the public hearings on any ordinance by dialing *9 on your phones to raise your hand. And then once you are recognized, dialing *6 on your phones to unmute, or by raising your hand icon if you're on your computers. You must state your name and address for the record. Members of the public may also submit written comments to us for any future remote meetings by either email to Donna Jackson, Deputy Village Clerk, at djackson@ridgewoodnj.net with the subject line "Comments for Village Council Meeting," or writing to Donna Jackson, Deputy Village Clerk, at Village Hall. Written comments must have a name and address and be received by 4 p.m. on the day before the remote meeting in order to be read into the record during the meeting. All written comments must adhere to the time limits already set by ordinance. Members of the public commenting during a remote meeting shall not act in any manner to disrupt the meeting. If anyone becomes disruptive during the meeting, it will be muted. If time permits, a disruptive individual will be allowed to speak after other members of the public have an opportunity to comment. Any continued disruption may result in the member being prevented from speaking during the remainder of this meeting. Disruptive comments includes but not limited to shouting, interruption, and the use of profanity.
Very good. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Roll call?
That's it.
Councilwoman Perrin,
Here.
Councilwoman Reynolds,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Seaton,
Here.
Councilwoman Walsh,
Here.
and Mayor Knudsen.
I'm here too. Very good. Please join us for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
allegiance to
flag
the flag
of
of the United States of America
and to
and
the
to
and the republic
United
for
States
which it stands,
nation
one nation, indivisible,
Under
with
God.
liberty and justice for all.
Liberty, just for all.
Very good. Please join us for a moment of silence for our men and women serving our nation, our first responders, and all of our Blue and Gold Star families. Very good. Thank you. With that, we'll go to public comment, not to exceed 3 minutes per person, total of 40 minutes. Anyone? Dylan? Wherever Dylan went.
Yes, one. Hold on one second.
Very
All
good.
right. Aurora Calabi, please unmute.
Unmute and name and address for the record. Good
Yeah,
evening.
good evening. Rorick Halaby, 374 Evergreen Place. I look forward to attending this meeting. I have great faith and confidence in Bob Bruni. I think we're very, very lucky to have a first-class CFO. And for the record, he was hired by Roberta Sonnenfeld, one of Roberta's good achievements. Having said that, I think over the next year or so, the village, from what I can see, will be facing great financial challenges. We have what's happening with the economy, what's happening with COVID. We have the central business district in a spiral. We have a village council that's been spending money like a drunken sailor. And I really think we need to provide Bob with all the help he can get. I honestly have no faith in the village council being able to contribute much of anything, because the five of you just do not have the bandwidth to do much of anything other than talk. So I strongly suggest that the village council reinstate the financial advisory committee to help Bob, not to tell Bob what to do, but to act as a resource for Bob, to help him sail through these treacherous waters that we'll be facing over the next few years. So I urge you, over the next few months, so I urge you to do what you can to reinstate the Financial Advisory Committee.
Happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
No other, I have no others.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right. All right, we will continue with the introduction of our, there were none to read, correct? I just want to make sure. Heather?
I don't have any. Heather, do we have any to read?
Is Heather frozen?
No, she's there.
I'm frozen now,
No, you're unfrozen.
I think.
You moved and
I don't know. Oh, man.
she's gonna come back in. Hold on.
So we're just waiting for Heather to come back?
Yeah, she's coming back in.
Oh,
There she is.
Sorry.
Welcome back.
It said, yeah, it said it was unstable. Sorry about that.
Oh, did we have anything to read? I'm sorry, that's what I was asking.
I don't have anything.
Any
for
public comments to read? Okay, very good. So let's go on to the
introduction.
introduction. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is just brief, just, welcome obviously to our budget hearings. We're scheduled for 4. I think hopefully we can do it before that. And this process begins back in the summer when the budget sheets are handed out to the department directors. They're due shortly after Labor Day. And then we move forward from there. And there are hearings with Bob and Steve, and then they come to Bob, Steve, and me, and there are reductions made along the way. And so I'll have Bob just give some additional information about our process this year, which is basically what we do every year.
Right. So over the next couple of days, you're going to be listening to the department heads present their budgets, talk about their needs, their wants, their wish list. And then when we get down towards the third meeting, we'll be in a position to look at the overall budget, find out what impact we would have in a tax rate, and conclude there. You'll also be presented tonight with their capital requests. Again, it's their wish list. Heather and I have gone through that and cut it back where we felt it was needed. But in the third meeting or in the fourth meeting, depending on how this goes, you will then have the overall capital budget to look at. So tonight and the next 2 nights are really just for the department heads to present. In case I forget along the way, I want to thank all the department heads and council for all the support in going through this process. It is quite long, but I think it's very beneficial to listen to all the needs that we have in the village and how we're going to address them. So thank you.
Right. The other thing I want to just mention about the capital budget is that all the directors get together and then they decide together what they may be able to put off for another year or what perhaps was a wish list, and they're willing to, realize that and say, okay, we won't pursue that this year. So that's basically how we handle the end of that capital budget. However, there may be still additional things that could be trimmed from it based on the council's desire. So that being said, I'll start with the village manager's budget. The major accomplishments really for the manager's office, I think, were that through the manager's office, the entire Welcome Back to Ridgewood, New Jersey event, as far as the personnel, was coordinated. I also worked on the downtown for the holidays. Obviously this was done with council people, mayors, the Chamber of Commerce, the Ridgewood Guild. So, and everyone who volunteered for both of those events. So, but it was quite a undertaking to coordinate the personnel and the outdoor cafes and everything else. So I'm thrilled. Both were such a great success. And so I'm going to leave it at that for obviously all the other achievements village-wide, but I'll leave it at that for, something that I worked on personally for many, many months for Welcome Back to Ridgewood, and for at least, I'd say 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks for the end time for the holidays. So other than that, I just don't, I know for the coming year, we may or may not continue with Welcome Back to Ridgewood. If so, we have a good template, and I know we'll do well. Obviously, another highlight of last year was the opening of the garage, which to me is a personal thrill, because it's something I've been waiting for since I got here. And, obviously we have other projects going on, Shedler, we have the Elks Club renovation. And so we have a lot of big projects going on. And so we're looking forward to seeing some of those come closer to completion, if not being completed in total. So with that being said, I don't know if you have any questions for me about this particular budget.
I do.
Okay.
So on professional, we're looking at your operational budget.
Yes, correct.
So on, I see that we have professional services, 42,750, and I see that the grant writer's been inserted back in.
Right. And so that's for the council discussion. I do think that we are losing out on some grant monies that we could get because we're not aware of the grants that are out there. Also, these grants have to be submitted in a particular way. And unfortunately, we don't have a grant writer on staff. And it takes a long time for many of these grants to apply for them. Some of them are easy. We do every year. We do the police department ones, click it or ticket. Every year we do our own community development block grants. So we certainly don't need them. We do our own NJDOT paving grants, but there are other more complicated grants that we would not be able to do on our own. So again, this is up for council discussion. If it's something that you don't want, then we certainly could take it out of the budget.
Heather, is that 36,000 a part-time position, full-time?
No, it's actually a consultant.
Okay.
So in the past, we had Millennium Strategies. There's another one, Bruno Associates. So there are a few out there in New Jersey who do a lot of these for various municipalities.
And in the past, would you say your expenditure of 36,000, what would it get you in grants?
Well, I can tell you we had it for, I think it was 2-3 years, and we did get grants. It didn't equal the 36, but then in the final year, we did get our tree inventory grant, which we had tried to do on our own and tried to get, and were not able to do so. And we had actually applied for it with the grant writer one other time and were denied. So, but we did receive it.
And how much money was the tree grant?
Do you remember offhand, Mike? I don't remember.
10,000.
10,000?
Yep.
And then we also received Royd grants, which we had no idea existed. And so we've been able to do those grants through the recreation department to offer, specific recreational opportunities for those with special needs. And that's been helpful as well.
And they've totaled $40,000.
Thank you.
Except for those, I did the filing on that on the state website, and that didn't require a grant writer to do it. So I'm not sure that gets attributable to a grant writer. And the council decided not so long ago to not continue with the grant writer. And I think
so
$6,000 has not been well spent. In fact, I would say that the biggest amount of money that we received went to a third-party private business. And so I just think that that's something that should be removed and not even up for discussion, in my view. And I just want to also point out that Councilman Walsh and I had the opportunity to interview on a number of boards and committees over this past weekend, was it, Bernie? Last Thursday. And we realized that there's an opportunity for us to also organize a grant committee And so that's something she and I are now looking at to bring to the council. So I think that that $36,000 should just be removed right out of there.
Okay, that's fine. Were there any other questions?
I have one.
Sure.
Oh, did somebody else say something? Go ahead, Bernie.
So Heather, the question I had was the conference. I know this is going to be a lean year for us. Do those conferences, do we get any accreditation, or do they get any continuing ed credits?
So the league conference, yes. The other one for the 17.5 was for people to attend their national conferences. It would be department directors who wanted to attend. You know, I don't know how many are actually going to be held in person this year. So, you know, we could certainly take it out for this year and, you know, pursue it in the future in non-COVID times, and perhaps not as lean a budget, you know, as difficult a budget year.
Yeah, because the only thing and again, I was on a peer call last week with my peer group, and unless people need it for continuing ed credits, most of the companies, which, you know, we're technically a company, are foregoing any types of seminars or anything that would be related to conferences, because unless they need it for like a license, or unless they need it for continuing ed credits for something. So I'm just going to put that out there, that's kind of what the trend seems to be.
So maybe a suggestion would be to take it down to say 5,000 or 3,000, just in case we need something for one of the department heads to get accredited.
Yeah.
That work?
That I agree. I actually agree. I had that circled. Can I ask my next question too? Or is that good, Bernie?
Yeah, I'm done. Thanks.
Okay. So I also had a question about the $6,000 for Bergen Leads. That's a lot of money for a program that I don't know how we truly benefit from that. I don't see any benefit. I don't know how many people the $6,000 covers, but I just think it's an expenditure right now that's probably unnecessary.
Yeah, I think that would cover two, I believe, but again, I've put it out there for the past couple of years, you know, to let people know if they wish to apply, they could do so. And, you know, there was some money to help them, assist them with it, but I actually have had no one apply. So I agree this year, because of the tough budget year, I think we should remove it.
Okay.
I will say, I found it very beneficial. I did it last year, and you really learn a lot about leadership and what it means. So I can see why we wouldn't want to do it this year, but keep it in mind for the future.
I agree. I mean, I also am a graduate of Bergen Leads, and I agree with you. So, okay. Any other questions?
I had one last question. It's really just, I mean, village holiday party. I don't know whether we're going to have a holiday party.
Yeah.
$5,000. And then can you tell me what the health wellness program for 11,000 is?
Yeah, at this point, we're not going to do that, honestly. We started it, and at this point during COVID, it's going to be tough. It was doing things like having perhaps a yoga class after work, if people wanted to participate, providing them with health and wellness literature. It's various things, various programs that you can do for your employees. Franklin Lakes has one that's been up and running for probably 5 years now, which many employees benefit from. However, again, in COVID, when you can't really gather,
Right.
this is probably not the year to pursue that.
Okay. So you think we could take out that whole employee relations 17,000?
I mean, if we can, you know, have a holiday party, I think it would be a nice thing at the end of the year. Again, who knows? We may or may not be able to.
Okay.
Charge for the holiday party? I thought we charged all of everyone.
It's subsidized. Yes, we charge our employees and their guests, actually. So, but it is partially subsidized.
Okay.
Any
So
other?
5,000 sounds like, is there liquor there?
But that's not included. No, that's not.
So 5,000 sounds like.
It probably isn't even that much, right? So,
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for this budget? Okay, we'll move on to village council.
Just give me 1 minute. I just want to write a couple notes on here. I'm sorry.
So village council, printing and binding was a major increase.
I don't think printing and binding was the only major increase.
Yeah, it was.
It's the calendar, Heather.
Is a calendar, okay. So,
Why is that why is that so significantly higher? Do we know?
In the past, it was buried in other places. I just happened to pull it out so we can know exactly what it costs. But we used to split the bill with various departments, so I just put it in one spot.
and this is probably what we paid this year, correct? But it is offset by advertising. So we do have, people who advertise every year, who advertise throughout the year, who some only get one advertisement during the year. But we've been very successful in doing that. And actually this year we have a couple of advertisers who, are annual every single month. They want a advertisement. So it's good to see. And certainly something I know that our residents want us to still produce, because I know a lot of towns have gone away from producing calendars, but I think our residents, if they don't get it, between Christmas and New Year's, they start saying, where is it? Where is it? So I know it's very beneficial. I mean, it gives you all the meeting dates. It gives you all the pickup dates for recycling, for garbage pickups, for, so it really is beneficial. Any other questions on this budget? I know that we have some money in, where is the, for CBDAC. We'll discuss that further next week. I don't know if Pam just wants to say something preliminarily now.
Well, we came up with a way to institutionalize certain things to promote the downtown and to bring people to Ridgewood in terms of marketing and that sort of thing, wayfinding signs. But we can talk about it more next week.
Okay. So we'll put that as a separate item, even though it is in the council's budget next week.
So
I had one request for the council budget.
Sure.
The Ridgewood Arts Council has been looking for just a very small budget to do a couple things throughout the year, some advertising. I think we're planning a very interesting Ridgewood Artist Talks series. So I was just looking to see if we could get like $2,000 to $5,000 included for kind of promotional materials and things like that. Like I said, like small projects that the Arts Council is going to do throughout the year. And I guess that could be a separate discussion item also next week, unless, it's a pretty simple request for a small amount, unless anyone has questions now.
No, Mike, but if you want to refine it down to like a specific amount, because I think that, reasonable amounts of money, $2,000 for a committee seems to be appropriate. And it's okay.
Yeah, I would comment too that, I know that all of the groups are probably going to be asking for money, and I just don't know that this is going to be the year for us to be budgeting for things that we hadn't budgeted for, unless there's a surplus we can move around. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want to just add on unless we could shift it from another budget into it. So maybe we'll keep like a ledger of which groups want what, and then see if we can shift it maybe from somewhere else.
And so we can, Bob, if you could just keep like a running total of the groups, and then we could, at the end, we could bring it back one last time at that final meeting and just say, this is what, was requested.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping this CBDAC money is going to be a completely total conversation, because
It is next week.
money. Okay.
Yeah.
It will be.
Just also, Bob, because Bernadette is completely correct, but the one thing, I know that there are certain boards and committees that have money kind of banked in trust funds. So I know that Community Access Network has some. So maybe if we can get a list of what everybody has, I think Arts Council may have a little bit of money still. So it
Sure.
might be helpful for Mike to know what for everybody to know what we have.
I'll give you a list of everything that's in the trust, so you'll be able to see who has what.
Very good, thank you.
That'll be perfect.
Yeah, and then, so we just did village managers, and I'm kind of keeping a tally here on mine, and it's from what we discussed, it was, from what she had proposed, it was negative 55,500. So we are making progress, but yeah, I think that keeping the ledger to see what's kind of balancing back and forth from what was proposed by all the groups will probably help us and help the public.
Right,
Problem.
okay.
Thanks.
Any other?
I had, Bernie, I had more, because I had grant writer 36,000.
Yeah.
Right? And then what did you have for conferences and meetings? 17.5?
I had 36,000 for the grant writer, 6,000 for lead, and 13.5 on the continuing ed, because he's keeping 5.
Right.
And then didn't we take away for the conferences and meetings?
Did we definitely take away for the conferences and meetings?
That was
or-
the one that we reduced to 5.
Right.
The 17.5 went down to 5.
Oh, so it's an additional 12 then? It's an additional.
No, the 17, the conference wasn't eliminated. It was taken down and 5,000 was left. So everything balances out. So Bernie was correct.
Okay.
Lorraine, do you have any other questions on that? Did you see? what-
I thought, so going from the top, the 36,000 was the first we took out. And then conferences and meetings was 18,750. I thought we took out the conferences. I thought we took out 17.5 off of that. No?
No, we left 5, so we took out 13.5.
So we took out 13.5, and then the next one was the employee relations. We took out like at least 12, right? Oh, I forgot the leads.
lead,
The
which is
next one was
7.
leads. That was 6,000.
Yeah.
Then the employee relations, how much did we take out of that?
I didn't have any out of employee relations.
And
Oh.
neither did I.
We did.
The health and wellness program. we
Health and
took out.
wellness.
Oh, and then it's another 11,205.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So can I just ask a quick question before we continue, because I had a note and I missed it until everybody started going back. Heather, just real quick, what is the, hang on, let me find it again. The department study, I think it is.
That's if, we want to have the auditor go in and, help us look at a particular department, or if a particular department needs a study done. We put that in for the past couple of years, and honestly, usually end up either reducing it or taking it out.
But it's very effective. We use it for internal control processes where we may have issues that we have to address internally.
Right.
Okay. All right, okay, good, all right. So Lorraine and Bernadette, you're both good?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so the next one is village attorney.
RME, is that Bill Northgate?
Yes,
That's the litigation with the solar panels and all?
yes, the bio.
North Grave is his name.
North
Yeah.
Grave.
Oh, I said Northgate, right, Northgate. Yes.
Okay, any questions on that, anybody?
So
Um,
I've been following a lot of the invoices, and I know that when I first came on the council way back when, Heather and the then village manager reminded us that if you have any pressing questions, to ask them in closed session or to ask them during a meeting, and that way we're not billed for them. And I noticed on all the bills, there's a lot of calls going back and forth to Matt, no offense to Matt, but I don't think I've ever seen bills this high since I've been on the council. So I would just remind everybody that you can ask the questions in a closed session, and we're not billed for it, as opposed to making lots of calls and requests of Matt. So that's just,
Right, and just mindful that if it's a closed session matter, that the item has to be identified in the.
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Something pressing, then.
Yeah.
and
Something
wait.
pressing, obviously pick up the phone, but if it can wait and you can ask Heather and Susan to put it on the agenda, then maybe that's just for Lorraine and Pam's benefit.
Okay.
All right.
I see that the prosecutor's on here, but not the public defender. Is the public defender in some other category?
Municipal court.
Okay. And what's under miscellaneous? It looks like there's a proposal of 25,000. What would that be?
When we go into litigation appropriations, there are times that we're using estimates, and that 25,000 is probably the best guess as to where we're going to be. This thing with RME, we've put a number in there, but if that kicks in tomorrow, that could double, triple. So I try to put a cushion in there. Again, if council feels that it's too high, we can certainly make some change to it.
So last year we budgeted 10 on that?
That's correct.
Okay. So Pam, just so you see that there's a sheet on that you can pull it. And it identifies that account and the item, what it is. I mean, I don't know. I think that, if we don't keep that miscellaneous cushion, sometimes then we run into a kind of shifting things around. I'm okay to reduce it somewhat, but I think, it's everybody else's call. I'm probably more comfortable just leaving the 25 there.
We have a lot of active lawsuits.
Yes, I agree. I think
It's probably best to leave it
25.
where it is.
Well, actually, if I'm looking at the right thing, when I go to miscellaneous legal services in the details for general matters, it says $225,000.
Oh, I think we
Find the wrong
all
place?
heard the other line, Pam. I thought I heard line 98 from you.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too, but then when I go to the details,
So that's Matt's billing. That's our monthly billing.
oh, okay,
Right.
gotcha. Okay,
So do you see it now? We're on that sheet?
098 is the miscellaneous that I was referring to.
Yeah, I thought, me too.
The last page.
there it is. Okay, yep,
Just give Pam a
I see
minute
it.
to find what we're looking at, okay?
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, do you have any other questions on that? Are you good?
I have no more questions.
So do we want to leave it at the 25? I think we're better off because we do have a
think
lot of
so.
back things going on.
Okay.
Okay. The next item is village clerk, and we have Donna Jackson, the deputy village clerk, here to give you information about that budget.
Where is Donna?
She's coming. Just has to turn on her video. Maybe, maybe not. That happened.
There she is.
There she is. Hello.
Good evening.
Hey, Donna.
How's everyone?
Good, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you. So I wanted to speak about the village clerk's office. I don't have a lot to say, but a few important things. I wanted to say thank you to the village council for approving the request to have the full-time person for the village clerk's office after a few years' requests of having the part-time person in our office. Finally became full-time. in July of last year, and it's made a big difference in our in the flow of our work in the office. We've noticed the difference in the completion of the packets for the village council meetings. It seems to, the assembling of those packets is much more, it seems to be a better flow. She's able to concentrate on those, having the full day there. And also the completion of the processing of the OPA requests. Joyce is able to take care of a good portion of the simpler OPA requests that come into the office. And she also assists in filling in for the reception desk if we have a shortage of staff. So it's helped a great deal with that. Speaking of OPA requests, that's always a large responsibility for the clerk's office, and the council knows. You hear from me often. Just to give you a little bit of background in how the numbers have grown over the years. In 2018, we had about 490 OPA requests for the year. In 2019, it grew to 511. And last year, it grew to a whopping 563 OPA requests. And that includes, we were closed for a few weeks, and we thought, maybe people would be distracted and we wouldn't be as busy with OPA requests, but we were extremely busy. We know that there were a lot of real estate transactions that took place because people were moving from the cities to the suburbs. So we think that had a good deal to do with it. And we continue to be very busy with the OPA requests. And a lot of them are real estate transactions as well. So it has helped with having Joyce as a full-time staff. A large responsibility that took our time last year was elections. And Heather will help me with that topic. It was an epic year for elections. We had municipal elections last year. Of course, we had primary. We had 2 initiatives. We had 5 municipal candidates that we had to certify hundreds of signatures for in our office. Extremely time consuming. We pore over those signatures. And the same with the initiatives. Those are hundreds and hundreds of signatures that we have to verify. And the general election was so involved. We had inquiries from the public, from our residents, starting in June, which has never happened in our office before. And I can't tell you how proud we are of our county and their response. If I can tell you that every voter is so important to them, and they take every vote they respond to every voter. If they need to make a phone call to that particular voter, they will. And they instill that in us as well. So we exercised an enormous amount of patience and eagerness to assist everyone. And it started in June, and it didn't stop. And it took a great amount of patience and an extraordinary amount of participation for Election Day, and to have the Election Day go as smoothly as it did. And it was extraordinary. And it couldn't have gone as any better than it did. So I don't know if Heather wants to say anything else about elections last year.
No, I think that covers it. I think for the village clerk's budget, the biggest increase is for legal advertising. And again, that's generated by the number of ordinances, resolutions that have to be published, special meetings sometimes that have to be published. So it's really generated from council activity. Other than that, it's flat. Can I move on to elections as well? Is that okay? Or do you want to ask questions about
I
village?
don't just let anybody have, if people have questions, let's go on first to questions on this. First, but wait, can I just first say something?
Sure.
I got to give kudos to the clerks, the village clerk's office, because the number of Oprahs, the number of people calling with election questions, the overall volume of inquiries that you have to field is just astonishing. And as somebody who's, we see those Oprah requests coming through constantly, I handled with the absolute highest level of professionalism. So I think we appreciate that. So,
Thank you.
and now we can go to questions.
And there's a
Okay,
great camaraderie and great staff there working together. So
We work very well together. I'm proud of them.
Okay. I just have one question on the conferences and meetings, 5,200. Is any of that like meetings that were going to be in person that are now not going to be held? Can we take any of that money out? Or are they all virtual?
well, they're virtual right now. I know we don't know about the league, but the Municipal Clerks Association of New Jersey conference is going to be virtual, and you still have to pay in order to attend.
They cost the same amount whether it's virtual or in person.
It doesn't cost the same because you don't have the hotel costs,
Okay.
but and it's a little bit less than it would be probably. But the good news is by doing it, we do get CEUs towards our certifications, which is why we go.
Yeah, so that would be the difference in the other conferences. If they're getting the continuing ed credits that they have to get anyhow in any given year, then those would be the ones that are, I guess, mandatory. But if they're not mandatory, I think in every department, we should probably say if it's not mandatory and you're not getting continuing ed for it, we should forego it this year.
Right.
Might be smart.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for this budget?
I mean, this is just looking pretty flat across the board, no?
It is, except for legal advertising.
Right.
So the next one then is village clerk elections. And this is, greatly reduced from last year because this is a non-election year for the municipal election. So it's much less than an even numbered year.
So, any questions on this? I thought I did have a question. Actually. Nobody has questions on this?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right, I guess we're moving on.
Okay. Donna, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a nice
Donna.
evening.
Thanks, Donna. Bye.
Bye.
We're now going to move on to basically Public Works. I'll have Chris come on. And we'll start with engineering. Hi, Chris.
Good evening.
So we'll start with engineering. And as we go through each individual division, if you have capital requests, let us know, and we'll look at that after you do the operating budget. Okay,
Okay.
so just kind of give us an overview, major accomplishment, any goals you may have for this year, just briefly.
As everyone knows, 2020 was a very trying year. However, we did get approximately 5 miles of village roadway paved. That worked out quite well. We followed the governor's recommendations, and we were able to continue working throughout the height of the pandemic in the spring. Same goes for the Hudson Street Garage. That project too was exempt from being shut down, so we took advantage of that and pushed it to completion. Let's see. We maintained our community rating service rating of 6. This is for people who have to buy flood insurance because their property is in the floodway of one of the 4 rivers in the village. Let's see. Other things we've done is we've just finished revising the village's stormwater ordinance with the village planner. That's currently going through the approval process with the planning board and the village council. Once that is completed, we have to submit it to the Bergen County Planning Board for their approval. We have a number of projects going forward in 2021. We're going to continue our paving. We have to update our stormwater plan and spill pollution prevention plan. We have a whole bunch of capital projects, which I guess I'll talk later about with the capital. Right now, the biggest opportunities and risks we're facing is how the COVID-19 pandemic continues to unfold. We've been fortunate in the engineering division. No one has gotten sick. Some members have had to quarantine, and we have to cover when they're home on quarantine. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
I don't have a question, but I'm just going to say, I would say of all the years and prior years where I've heard nothing but positive about our engineering, because there's usually a question about something going on, but I mean, finishing the garage, getting all the paving done, it was all a very positive year, even with the pandemic. So thank your team. You guys did a great job this year.
I'll let them know. Thank you.
Okay, so you do have capital requests for engineering, right? So go on to that.
We have a number of capital requests. As usual, we're looking funding to continue the road resurfacing projects. We currently have a paving spec out for bid. We'll be getting those bids back probably in about 2 weeks. Once we review them, we'll make a recommendation for the council's consideration. We've been working with Bergen County on the Franklin Avenue streetscape. It's been quite difficult because a lot of the county engineering staff has been working from home. They do get back to us, but it's not as quick as if they were in the office. So we're asking some money for that. We got approved for pedestrian crossings. These are the pedestrian activated lights at crosswalks. The best example we have is the one we installed in front of the library that goes from the library to King's parking lot. It's a pretty good idea because it gets some pedestrian buy-in on their crossing maneuver because they have to hit the button that activates the high intensity flashing strobes that then flash for a period of time while they cross the street. We've gotten requests from residents through the Citizen Safety Advisory Committee to consider these for a number of locations in the village. We have funding being considered for the restoration work for the gatehouse at 1057 Hillcrest at Habernickel to address some of the issues that have been noted by myself, a structural engineer, and a home inspector. We have funding proposed for Shedler Field, Phase 3. For that project, we currently have our proposed site plan at the State Historic Preservation Office. We're waiting to get their approval so we can finalize the site plans and hopefully go to bid soon, hopefully this year. We also have an additional request for $800,000 for the next phase on the Shedler house. This is to complete the interior of the house. Mostly it's the electrical, plumbing, and ventilation systems for the house, and also to construct the bathroom on the first level. I think the majority of the council members have been in the house. If anyone would like to see it, let us know. I'd be happy to give you a tour. It's kind of hard to get to right now because we didn't plow an entrance to it, so there's several feet of snow on the grounds. We've had a request from members of the public for consideration of funding for desilting and desnagging on the Hohokus Brook. This is a project we've done periodically to remove some of the sandbars that exacerbate flooding conditions. So we're looking for some money to do some of that work again. And that's it for capital.
Are there any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a quick question on Franklin Avenue. Of course, I'm not sure how this works, but my recollection when we, in those county meetings, is that we had we had to take a little bit of land on some spots. How did we work all of that into these plans?
We have the plans. Brian Duddy in our office, the licensed engineer that we recently hired, has been working extensively on that. We're trying to get what we propose for the intersections to be finalized by the county. Once the village and the county are in agreement, then we will proceed with any necessary takings, presenting them naturally to the council first.
Okay. All right.
I just had a quick question about Shedler. With this allocation, would that be everything then? Would the park mostly be completed if this work gets done?
I believe so. It depends on what other features on the park are desired as we develop it.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Sure.
Well, just to be clear, when we talk about what other features as we're moving forward into development, we can't just add stuff because all of this has to go to SHPO because as we know that was a little bit of a debacle and there's limitations as to what can happen there because both the house and all the property is now on historic registry. So when you say what are the things we might want to add, what are the features, what aren't we kind of committed to a plan that SHPO approves? We can't just be changing things.
Well, features such as vegetation, landscaping. We're going to have to see what the prices are for the trees on top of the berm. If there's a desire for a thicker screening, that it will increase the cost for additional trees.
Okay.
We need the fencing too at the berm.
Yes.
There's a lot that, is needed to be done.
Okay, but all of that has to also be approved by SHPO?
I don't believe the plantings necessarily have to be approved by SHPO. I think they're more interested in the hard features, although what we have sent to them indicates that plantings on top of a berm are being considered by the village.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay.
I don't know if this is the time or whether this is Parks and Rec, but would there be any possibility in the future to put a pickleball court over there? Could we apply to SHPO for that?
That's a tough question. That's something where if the council wished to go in that direction, we can certainly ask SHPO. Prior to asking SHPO, I'd recommend that the council decide where on the campus of the park they would envision it. Once that is decided by the council, we'll do a drawing citing it, and then we can submit it to SHPO. I'd hesitate to do that right now. I'd like to get approved what has been agreed upon so we can start to move forward. And because this whole project has gone slow. Down the road, like, let's get this approval, let's get this bid out. If there's a desire for a pickleball court, we can always ask SHPO in 6 months, a year, and see what their thoughts are, and then consider it.
Yeah, I'm going to take a step back on all of this because, this came up just a couple of weeks ago, and I actually did reach out to the deputy mayor and said, do we want to, because there was a whole mess with this plan that was submitted to SHPO. It had every conceivable field and pickleball courts and pergolas and there were no trees left. It was just a wild thing. And SHPO kicked it back to us and said, yeah, this is no good. And so we had to go back and clean the whole thing up. And I did call Deputy Mayor Seaton and said, as this whole pickleball issue is unfolding, do you feel that you want to revisit this and remove the big soccer field and put in pickleball courts? And his position is, and I agree with him, that the ad hoc committee worked hard on this. It was a culmination of a group effort by both neighbors and sports folks and a whole bunch of environmentalists, and everybody came in together and worked on this project tirelessly. It was the project that was approved by the village council. And this is so slow at this point. And I believe, has the plan now been resubmitted to SHPO? I hope. So we had to resubmit this plan. It has been, was a mess. And I'm just saying it was a mess. And I'm beyond upset about it. And I just think that we have to move forward and to now consider, we're either going to do a big field or pickleball. The deputy mayor worked on that so hard, so long. I mean, they put in a ton of hours. Well, everybody knows now what to expect, and to even contemplate at some point in the future, tearing down more trees and further decimating that buffer is just, I think it's just inappropriate at this point. I don't even think we should be having this conversation, because the people will be really upset. And again, he'll attest to it. I actually had contacted the village manager and said, maybe this is an option not to put the field in and put pickleball courts. And we spoke with him about it. And he just said, this has been an effort. This has been hard work on the part of a lot of people who put in a ton of time. And I guess was it 2017?
Yeah, I know. Ramon Hache and myself worked on it, and Mayor, you were much more kind than I would be in describing those meetings. They're absolutely brutal. Nobody trusted anybody, and the hardest part was winning over trust of the residents, the sports groups, and everybody else. So had that project gone ahead and was completely different from what had been painstakingly agreed on by sports groups, residents, everybody who was in all of those committee meetings, well, then there wouldn't be any trust left for the village government, because then why have committee meetings if you're just going to turn around and do whatever you want anyway and not listen to people? So I was absolutely against even removing the field, any of that, just everything that was agreed to, very painstakingly, very brutally, we came through those meetings. And that really is what needs to go there.
Yeah, and I'm going to reiterate the trust aspect of this, because it really speaks about trust. And when I saw the plan that SHPO kicked it back to us. SHPO did not approve the plan that was submitted. And when I looked at it, I was horrified, because none of the, there were things in this plan that were submitted to SHPO, and to their credit, SHPO acknowledged that it was grossly inappropriate. It was completely overdeveloped, and there were components and features in the plan that were never agreed upon by the village council, didn't come out of the ad hoc committee, and it has since been cleaned up and resubmitted as approved by the village council. And again, I think Bernadette, Mike, it may have been 2017, I think, and here we are all this time later, and we still have nothing. So was it 17 or 18? I don't remember. But it had to be set.
I think it was towards the end of 17. I think it was the end of
2017.
17.
Here we are, just a few weeks ago, back in maybe last month, 2 months ago, that we finally resubmitted that plan. So I just want to tell you right up front, trust is something that the people have the right to believe in us and believe that we are trustworthy and that we are going to continue with the plan that all of these folks came together and created. And I had always given Mike and Ramon a ton of credit for sitting through it and having to deal with it. It was brutal. So I think that this is not a conversation we should be having at this point. Anyway, moving on.
Any other questions about this capital?
I do, Chris. I have a question on the Franklin Avenue streetscape, 448,000. Is there any possibility, the county can pay for part of this? We can get grants for it?
Franklin Avenue is a county road. We're going to have to execute, the village and the county, an interlocal agreement. There'll be a cost sharing structure in that. This funding is to support the cost sharing that we anticipate the village will have.
Oh, okay, because that's a lot. I mean, what is the plan for the streetscape? Can you?
We're looking at replacing all the traffic lights, putting in modern traffic light systems integrating the traffic lights so that the lights work with one another. So you could have a green wave if and when you need it. We would like to put in upgraded crosswalks at the critical crossing locations. Some of those locations I've been working with the police department on improving the lighting so that they're more visible in the evening. We'll continue with that once we get an agreement with the county.
Okay. So the cost is going to be significantly more than that. This is just our portion of it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Just wondering, where are the developer contributions to this reflected?
They're not reflected in that because I think the Enclave gave us either 50 or 100,000, and I don't recall what Ken Smith had.
How can we get that information so that we can see, so we can understand how that money is factored into all of this?
Bob will get that. Okay, can we,
I thought, actually, and I just want to add to that because the conversations we had with the county was that we would fund our portion of it, and our portion of it was going to be supported by the funding from the developers.
right,
Correct. Chris can, is that correct?
Yeah, there'll be a contribution by the developers, but it will not fund the entire amount.
No, what I'm saying, but we would, whatever the developers were, their contributions, we were funding the difference of our portion. So we were going to take our portion of it, apply the developers' contributions, and then the difference is going to come from us. That was my recollection of the conversation.
I think you're right, Susan. What you see here is a grossed up number for what our share is.
Right.
The funding piece of it, if it came from developers or the county, we'll get the information and show you how what the net effect is.
Okay. Thank you.
all right. Can we move on to planning?
Sure. Once I pull it up here. Good. All right.
Oh.
So the biggest increase in this budget is other professional services.
We're also looking at this year at a great big unknown. Governor Murphy just signed a law into effect. It's Bill S 2607/A 2785. It requires a climate change related hazard vulnerability assessment to become a portion of the land use plan of the municipal master plan. I got a notification of this on Friday, February 5th.
Mhm.
So we have to, Mary Ann and I and Chris Martin, we have to figure out what the timeline that this bill requires the village to develop this component and at what time we will present it to the planning board with its development costs, obviously.
Chris, can you define climate change? Like what are they specifically looking for us to do? Is it sustainability efforts, or is it they're looking for a specific project to be done?
I'm gonna read you what the news release said, because that might be the best way to sum it up. They say, quote, "This will require proactive planning to protect communities against the threats of climate change and is a phenomenal opportunities for environmental commissions to share their knowledge and expertise." Unquote. If you would like to define that better, feel free. I'm sorry. This is
It
again.
sounds like we already do that with the initiatives that we have going. So can we use our current initiatives as a more defined answer to that?
We're going to use everything that the village has done in the past 15, 20 years. But right now, Marion and I have to figure out, get the copy of the law. We have to see what the timeframes are, how they apply to the village, and discuss it with the planning board, probably in an upcoming meeting, and then see how we go forward. It's a big unknown. And as I said, this is from Trenton. It's one of their wonderful unfunded mandates because there's no funding to support this effort on that we're going to do on the village's behalf, other than what the village taxpayers will provide.
I have a suggestion with that. And we're going through it now. Our first deadline is June 6th for the Sustainable Jersey submission for silver certification. And we have already done it now twice, working on the third time, documenting everything the village has done that would count as sustainable, even loosely sustainable, maybe not quite sustainable. It's all in there. It's a 400+ page document, including resolutions, ordinances, photos of different events that we have pretty much everything in there. So if you were looking for a place to start, I would suggest, I could help anybody with that too, because I'm really familiar with the application. And like I said, I'm going through it now, and that lists a lot of pretty much everything that we do towards sustainability.
We'll certainly reach out to you once we understand what we have to do.
Okay.
Like I said, I just got this on Friday. Been dealing with a few snowstorms lately. And Marianne and I just discussed this today, and we have to discuss it further with the information from what the state wants.
Well, if it's up to us to define it, then I'll just use what I said as our definition, and we can submit our application and we'll be all right.
I say.
If it was so easy, it'd be wonderful.
All right. Any questions on this one, anyone? What were those other professional services anyway, that I just had that up on the,
Yeah, mine was cut off on the left, so I
Yeah.
couldn't really figure it out on page 28. For the planning board, other professional services, what was the $15,000 for?
We have a $15,000 budget for litigation. The next item was a transfer of $35,000.
And I believe I took that out in the adjustment.
And then you had a proposed reduction.
Yep.
It was an next line down would be adjust to actual 2019, and then costs to the master plan.
got it. Okay.
So it's $15,000 for litigation.
I see. Okay.
Just in case somebody doesn't like the planning board's decision.
Okay, so traffic and signal.
Okay.
Major increases signs and sign supplies. I think a lot of that is due to, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is due to changing parking regulations, kiosks, installing them and having signage, having signs within Village Hall, for social distancing, wearing masks, things like that. Is that right?
You're correct. The demand for signs is increasing. COVID-19 didn't lessen the need for signs. As you're correct to say that we needed even more signs. Plus, we have to maintain the existing sign stock that we have. We have a number of faded signs. We have to replace them so they're visible and legible. Sometimes people will get a summons based on a sign that they claim is not legible or distinct enough. We'll go to court, and every now and then the judge will agree with them. So we want to put the signs up so they're effective, and they're effective for when our enforcement people need them.
Plus, the cost of the materials has gone up drastically in the last 2 years.
The demand is high.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question about that. Is any of that recoverable through grants from CARES or COVID?
No.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do you have capital for traffic? I think it
Yeah,
did.
let me just pull that up.
Wait, where are we going?
Capital for traffic and signal.
Sorry, okay, let me just get that. Hang on. Okay, good. Perfect.
We had asked for and got been preliminarily approved for $30,000 on the fiber conversion. We have the parking lot light upgrades to LEDs. This is for parking lots that the village has. It's been a program that's been ongoing. Signal installs them as funding permits. We have 8,000 requested for restriping roads, keep our line striping fresh looking so people know where to drive. We have a request for 10,000 for the Vets Field lighting replacement, again, upgrading the bulbs. We would like to replace bucket truck number 168 for 155,000. I don't have the information as to how old the vehicle is, but that can be provided should anyone request it. Engine 3-1 up on West Glen. They need a transfer switch for their emergency generator, an automatic transfer switch. So when they lose power, it kicks in and they don't have an interruption of electric service to their radios primarily and their equipment. We're looking at repairing, replacing components of the Leicester Stable HVAC system for 35,000. We're looking to fund some traffic controllers. This is almost an annual request because we lose 1 to 2 traffic controllers a year due to motor vehicle accidents. We have to have the funding in place to replace them. We're not always successful when we pursue a responsible party's insurance company. Some people just have bare minimum insurance and doesn't really cover the cost of the damages they do. We're also looking for $100,000 to replace the roof on Village Hall. That would be the portion over the old part of the Village Hall, mostly the barrel roof. There are a number of leaks. The clerk's office is very much used to the bucket brigade when it's a heavy rainstorm. I have one where I can watch it leak also on my plans. The roof was not done when we did the addition and renovation of Village Hall. So we estimate the roof's at least 25 to 30 years old.
Chris, that bucket loader is a 2002
The bucket loader or
Yeah.
the bucket truck?
bucket truck,
Yes.
2002.
Okay. So you're pushing 18, 19 years old.
Okay, anyone, any questions on the traffic cap?
The next one is fleet services. Our biggest increase here is the acquisition of equipment. Number 100.
Well, is Chris doing this?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Fleet services, we're starting to get back one of our mechanics who was out for most of the year last year with a disability injury. He's coming back to work. It's a great asset. We've got 4 excellent mechanics. We're trying to get one of them certified as a underground storage tank system AB operator. That has been very difficult now because the pandemic has shut down testing for all these kind of certifications. So instead, we have to pay an outside vendor for this certification to cover our underground storage tanks. One of our mechanics, Anthony, has been instrumental in selling off surplus equipment and vehicles. We've really cleared out a tremendous amount of old vehicles. They've been successfully sold on Gov deals, and those funds go immediately back to the general fund, right, Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The mechanic staff has been hit very hard by the pandemic. We had quite a few members had to quarantine that interrupted some of the services we provide, but we managed to get around it. We need to replace the underground storage tanks, and that's a major capital request. That's also before you folks. and happy to answer any questions.
Why did tires go up so much? The purchase of tires?
The individual costs, probably ingredients. I know hydrocarbon prices are low, but they have been climbing lately. We just lost a loader tire in the snowstorm over last weekend. That's going to cost us several $1,000s to replace a tire.
Thank you.
Chris, the replace underground fuel storage tanks, 800,000. How many storage tanks are there that you want to replace?
We have a total of 5 tanks. We have an 8,000 gallon diesel, 8,000 gallon regular, 4,000 gallon gasoline, 4,000 gallon diesel, and we have a waste oil tank. The tanks all are about 32 years old. Their life cycle is usually approximately 30 years. The village put these tanks in when the previous system had a very massive underground fuel leak. That fuel leak traveled far enough away that the village had to purchase a home on Oak Street that was contaminated by that leak. I'd hate to go down that road again.
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
Right. No, but unfortunately, it's a shame we didn't do 1 or 2 a couple of years ago, like to do all 5 at once is.
It would be very hard to do 1 or 2 tanks because they're all in a combined system.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
They're all interconnected to the warning system. It's called the VITA route, the leak detection system. They're all side by side on the ground. So if you opened up the ground, remove the concrete slab on top, put a tank in, then you'd have to continually pay to remove that concrete and replace it as you took each tank out and replaced it.
Okay. Does it make sense? I mean, do they have to be underground when you replace them? Can you have above ground with some sort of, shed or something over it?
You can have them above ground. You don't really need a shed. The biggest advantage to underground, especially for the village, is we are at such a premium for space up at the fleet services and streets. We really don't have the room to devote to an above ground installation.
Would it be a lot less expensive?
Not terribly much.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a quick question.
Sure.
On operation for fleet, the almost $40,000 on temporary and seasonal. Can you just explain that?
That was temporary and seasonal. If we have the opportunity to hire some part-timers or temps to help out, we will. We've had them in the past. We didn't have any in 2020. Hiring part-timers in 2020 was a challenge. The labor pool seemed to be very small and reluctant.
Okay. And when was the last time we had, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, Pam, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask on a different topic, so you finish up.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, when was the last time we used temp and seasonal in that?
I believe I think we had one in 2019.
Okay.
And
All
then he went the bigger and better things.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that might even be in the, let me check the printout. No.
Yeah, I can just pull up. I can click on it real quick, so it's fine. I have that in front of me. All right, go ahead, Pam. Sorry.
Police vehicle maintenance, that's blank. Is that dealt with somewhere else?
A part of the police vehicle maintenance is done for the leased vehicles is done through enterprise. If it's a purchased vehicle, which is usually the patrol pursuit vehicles, we do that as we would service any other vehicle that the village has purchased.
Are you good, Pam? You have any other questions on that?
No. That's fine.
Okay, we'll go on to streets.
Right, just give me 1 second so I can pull that file up.
street division has had a challenging year in 2020. Obviously, COVID had some significant impact on them. We had a tropical storm that we had to help clean up on. We're trying to keep the streets clean. We took delivery of a new catch basin cleaner funded by the council. That's proven to be a very useful machine. We've gotten a lot of our inlets cleaned. That makes a big difference to our residents because it cuts down on some of the localized flooding in streets. So that's great. We took delivery of a new Scarab. That is a windrow turning device that we use in the Lakeview compost facility. That's helping us keep our compost product in top form. Let's see, we replaced several employees that retired with new ones, and we hope they all will be positive assets to the division. We're working on plowing with all the recent snowstorms has been a challenge. We're working with all the departments in the village, all the blue collar departments, to use village staff and village equipment as much as possible to plow our streets, so we do not have to use the outside vendor.
Okay. Anyone questioned yet? Feel free to jump-
I have a question on line 029, other contractual services. That went up pretty significantly. What services were they?
Let's see if that's where we put, hold on, let me pull that one up.
We have money, we've had money in insurance trust for snowstorm trust. That's been depleted in the last several years. Even though we haven't had significant storms, we still have been using it. And we use it to offset the costs. That fund is coming down very low now. So we had the ability to use about $200,000 of it last year when we budgeted. This year, I don't believe we're going to have that available, but until I finish the financial statements, I won't know exactly how much is remaining. So this number potentially could go down, but it probably will not go down the same 200,000.
Okay. And also the rock salt, I mean, I guess last year, because we had no snow, you used like 5,500. And then this year you have budgeted like 80,000.
Yeah, we're probably exceeded that already. We would certainly have exceeded that if they brought us our deliveries based on our orders. But rock salt right now is very hard to get a hold of. Everybody needs it. We're running through a lot of storm cycles. We're trying our best to get it from our supplier and the county.
Okay.
So you have capital for streets, right?
Yep.
Okay.
One of the big items we're requesting is funding for a single operator leaf vacuum. But this is primarily to replace the one we have that has been a very troublesome unit. And we found that we have seen that the single arm or single operator vac is a very useful machine, particularly on the busy roads, because our employees completely protected inside the cab of the truck. They're not exposed to traffic, and that's a big safety plus.
That's a must. Unfortunately, the one we have is truly a lemon, and we've tried to pursue it legally. And Matt has said we really don't have enough to do so, but it continually goes down throughout the leaf season, and then it has to be restored. We have to bring it to the manufacturer at times to be rejuvenated. So this is a need, absolutely.
So I understand, Heather, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Pam. Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know that I've actually seen this thing in operation. Are you saying that the one we have now requires a man on the street as well as the operator in the cab? And that's where the danger lies?
No, let me clarify that. We have tow behind leaf vacs. Those are towed by a truck, driver in the truck, operator operating the vac, and then a tag vehicle behind the trailer with lights on to warn on motorists coming upon the scene that there is somebody working. That's usually 3 people, 3 pieces of equipment, trailer, 2 trucks. The single arm operator or the single operator guy sits in the cab It's a right side drive vehicle, and he just manipulates the hose and vacuum cleans up the leaves from the gutter line and on top of the curb.
So just one person.
Just one employee, yes.
Chris,
What is like the life expectancy of this leaf vac truck?
If they run good, that means it's not a lemon. We should get 7 to 10 years out of it.
Wow, that's it.
and it's not the same manufacturer, I'm assuming.
No, the manufacturer of the prior unit is the politest thing that could be said. They're persona non grata.
How old is our lemon?
We've been frustrated with it for I think about 3-4 years now.
Chris, I just had a question. So with the leaf vac truck, I mean, what are the issues with it? The one that's the lemon?
There are so many. A lot of them are the controls, the electronics, the hydraulics that activate the arm, activate the vacuum motors and so forth, and the controls that the operator needs to pick up the leaves.
And it's not anything to do with people putting leaves out and putting pumpkins and flowers and branches and sticks. How does that work when everybody throws into their leaf piles everything else that doesn't belong there? What happened?
You bring up a very good point, Mayor. The deleterious material in leaf piles, the operators usually try to vacuum clean around them. They know if they suck up a pumpkin, it can get clogged. Twigs can clog it. They know if they suck up, say, a roadkill skunk, it's gonna stink god awful because that's gonna get pulverized, and you're gonna know what you found. So the operators have learned and have been trained to avoid that kind of deleterious material. They'll leave it behind on top of the curb if they can.
So the issues that we had with the lemon had nothing to do with that material, those items being placed, or did that factor in at all?
I don't think the deleterious material had much of an impact on the operability of our lemon.
Okay. All right.
So you also have a street sweeper in here, right?
Oh, yes, we're asking for 276,500 for a street sweeper. We used to have 3 street sweepers. We are currently down to 1 operable one and one that was damaged in a head-on collision with a motorist. The motorist was at fault. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be recovering much from that motorist to fix that sweeper or to replace it. That accident happened about 1.5 years ago. Our operator that was in the street sweeper, that accident unfortunately caused him to have to retire.
And then we also have a loader, right?
I have a question about the street sweeper and the insurance issue. So there's no mechanism for our insurance to pick up and then subrogate through their insurance? What's the deal?
They do that.
Okay, so how did we not get made whole at least, or partially whole? I'm missing.
Well, it
something.
wasn't a brand new sweeper either, right?
Yes, it wasn't a brand new sweeper. And as we found out with the accident to this taxi stand, some individuals have low limit insurance on their vehicles. They just get the bare minimum, and that doesn't cover much, unfortunately.
So because the motorist didn't have good coverage, we're getting
Screwed?
the shaft.
We're getting screwed? Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty bad.
No, I mean, I don't know the answer. I would just imagine then, this seems wrong.
Yeah, it does.
I wish the state didn't allow that.
And then we're also asking for a replacement loader. We currently have 3 operable loaders. They're getting a heck of a lot of use now in the snow. We use them for leaves. We use them at Lakeview for the compost facility. We used to have 5 loaders, so we'd like to get funding for a loader so we get it back up to 4 loaders.
Okay.
We're also asking, what's that?
1 truck too.
Yeah, we're also asking for an F-350 with a plow. That's a replacement vehicle that'll be in our plow fleet. We're also asking, that's it. The other one's for traffic and signal we already talked about.
Okay. Can we move on to yard waste pickup and recycling?
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, did we distribute to everyone the Excel sheet of our vehicle inventory? Does everyone have that?
We can give it to everyone again.
Okay.
Heather, what is it listed under? I'm having a hard
I
time
don't
finding.
know, I gotta ask Bob.
Oh, it's under the WPCR.
Yep.
It's the very last thing.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
So this is pretty much a flat budget. So, not, and did you, I don't think you had any, capital request either, right?
No,
Okay,
not that I recall. The only uncertainty we have in yard waste is if we have another event like the tropical storm last year. We are still processing the bills for the disposal of the materials that we picked up from that storm. That may have to be paid out. Some of those may have to be paid out of this year's appropriations.
okay.
What are those other contractual services that's so,
That would be disposal of materials that we cannot compost, such as grass clippings,
Mhm.
the debris from a storm that's like primarily brush and branches, because that doesn't decompose in the 1-year cycle we use for the decomposition of the leaves we collect.
got it, okay.
Okay.
Chris, do you know of any other communities that, obviously the healthiest thing for your lawn is to leave the grass clippings. So do you know of any other municipalities that either don't pick up grass clippings or that really have some sort of an initiative to leave them on your lawn? I know that I know we talk about it all the time, but are there any other municipalities that are making headway? That could certainly be our climate initiative if we leave the grass clippings on the ground.
That's good.
That could be a good initiative. Might be a challenge. I personally try to leave as much of the grass clippings on my lawn, but that's my personal choice.
Yeah.
I have heard that Montclair stopped picking up grass clippings. I haven't.
What happened?
What's that?
And what happened? Did they get pushed back?
I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I'd have to look
Maybe we
into it.
should call Montclair and see how they did it.
My
That would
guess
be a
is,
climate initiative.
that Sustainable Jersey has a cut and leave it program.
Mike, I think they do, right? Mike?
Oh, I'd have to look. They have, I think over 12 or 1,400 actions. So I don't know each one off the top of my head. I'm just kind of more familiar with the ones that we've done.
That's why I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. There's hundreds and hundreds of different actions, and I'm sure they have something that you could get, some sort of points for, some sort of clarification on, or they have experience with it. I'd have to look into it though.
Yeah.
And,
Move on to water pollution control facility.
mhm.
Really, our only increase here is the other contractual services.
Mhm.
Water pollution, like every division, it's been a challenging year with COVID. Flows didn't stop. Flow still comes in every day. We just got apprised of something that's a really major concern for water pollution and also for the Ridgewood Water Company. Some of you may have read about it in the paper. A water facility in Florida, their control system got hacked. Their hack was happened on February 5th of this year. Both Rich Calby and myself, we sent emails to our departments and told all our operators to be very, very alert in case somebody tries something like that with either our wastewater treatment plant, that's this budget, or for the treatment of the potable water at Richwood Water. We are looking at upgrading the SCADA system this year. We've gotten several proposals, and I hope to have a recommendation to award to the council in the next couple weeks. We will be cleaning up a lot of our older accounts that we have had partial funding for that. Other than that, we hired a new lab manager at the plant. She's doing great. She's been a real asset, understands the work, is keeping us in good graces with the DEP. And the only capital request I have is to replace the small front end loader, which we use for transferring the grit from the grit screening unit into the dumpsters for disposal.
Okay, anyone questions?
We'll go to building maintenance.
Oh, one thing for water pollution. I think we had a pretty good year. Bob would know the numbers, but our liquid waste acceptance program, I think we pushed over 200,000 revenue to the village.
Great.
And we'll continue to see if we can expand that with various haulers, because the plant has the capacity to do that. So we should.
Turning sewage into gold. Good job.
Okay, building maintenance,
That's under what, Bob?
usually traffic and signal him.
Yeah,
Okay,
right in the front.
okay, thanks. Sorry. Didn't go far enough.
Wait, what's, oh, yeah, okay.
We went from back to front.
I didn't. I just clicked a button.
So the biggest increase was actually Village Hall, obviously.
Yeah, we're looking to paint the village hall, the front of the village hall facing Maple Avenue. It's not as simple as it sounds. There's some decayed soffits on the roof that we need to fix and repair. Some of the paint needs to be stripped very carefully. We feel that it may be lead-based, so that will necessitate a bit of an environmental cleanup. It's going to be a challenge project.
Chris, is Village Hall considered a historic building?
I would say it's an old building, but I don't believe it's gotten a historic designation.
So can we use like Hardy board? Can we start replacing some of the, and AZAC? Can we start replacing some of the wood? Because it seems like, you know, we're painting and scraping, and if we could, you know, start changing some of it out. I know that obviously the pillars aren't going to go, but you know, when I go there, I look up and I see like those flat pieces that could certainly be a Hardy piece or Hardy, you know,
Hardy plank.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would look to use as much synthetic material as possible if its appearance is satisfactory. You are correct. The synthetics may have a significantly longer service life. They're less subject to the decay that like pine would be.
Yeah.
And I think the key would be less from a historic perspective, but more from the appearance perspective.
Aesthetics, yeah. But I think, I mean, I have seen that product, and I have that product on my house. It still looks brand new. It's 16 years old. I've seen it on lots of other buildings, and it people are changing out certain aspects that where they can. A lot of those flat pieces, certainly, it's very easy. And then even the dental molding, you can get in synthetic.
Yep. We'll put that in a bid document like that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Okay. Had we invested in the styrofoam extractor machine, we could have made our own, actually.
Or a 3D printer at the library, but it would take a long time, I think.
I'll put you to work, Bernadette. Sorry.
Okay, next one is zoning board.
Oh, wait. I had a question on building maintenance.
ahead.
about the bus terminal. I can't tell what page of detail this is. I don't see the number on it, but it says $8,000 to paint beams and trim and miscellaneous. Are we actually planning to do that? I see it was in last year's budget. I don't know if it happened or whether it's being done again. What's up with that?
The work has not been done. The bus stop has been designated a historic structure, I believe.
Right.
It is currently locked. We had to do that early last year because unfortunately, too many individuals were using the bus stop as their personal porta-john.
Mhm.
It was getting to be a real burden on our staff to have to go up there every day and clean up after them. And for those individuals who just wanted to rest out of the elements while waiting for a bus, it was getting to be difficult. We haven't gotten very many complaints, at least I haven't. I don't know if you have, Heather. That the bus station is closed. So right now, I think we're going to leave it closed. If you delete that amount from the budget, we'll just keep the station closed.
So I think part of the bigger conversation, because I know that we had some communications with Gilchrist regarding this, and I think part of the conversation was to restore that and then put in different types of benches that people couldn't lay down. So they had the kind of bars between each seat, some kind of, so you couldn't lay down in there, and then some cameras, security cameras to kind of keep things. I don't know if we put any money because I think it's something that we really should be doing. I don't know if we put any money in for security cameras or any of that. Maybe we should be considering that.
To the best of my knowledge, we have not put any funding requests in for security cameras or for the more extensive rehabilitation as you suggest, Mayor.
Yeah. All right.
It's too bad because it really does look seedy.
I mean, I don't know, Chris, can we maybe take a look and see if there are things we're pulling out and putting in, if there was some wiggle room anywhere to kind of look at that overall project? I think I don't know if you were on Mr. Gilchrist's emails where he sent us the documents on that, the updated restoration plan.
I mean, he didn't draw up full plans though.
No, but he kind of gave some guidance on that. So
We're probably gonna have to hire Connolly and Hickey too, being that it's historic.
Was it actually, did we get the designation, Chris? I actually don't even remember.
I believe we got some sort of designation.
Okay.
Now I second what Heather said. Now I would go to our historic architects because they would specify everything in a manner that SHPO finds acceptable. They're really good at that.
Mhm. Okay, so I guess maybe if we can look at that and figure out how we're going to advance that, because it's an important part of our central business district. And if that's one, it's maybe like a low hanging fruit in terms of restoration.
It might be expensive though.
Yeah. So can I ask a question? Maybe this is, I don't know what the legality of this is. If we know that they're doing an act that is they're defecating or they're urinating, if we put a camera up and have that on videotape, like what is the, I don't know, it just seems odd that we'd be videotaping people. I don't know. Is there like a?
Well, it's not a bathroom.
Well,
I know it's not a bathroom, but if we're videotaping them, what I'm saying is it's going to be pornographic, essentially, from what they're capturing. So, like, what's the goal? Is it to give them summons if we know? Like, I think we have to think a couple of steps ahead because this has been going on for years. I don't think a video is going to change it, and I think then.
Yeah, video cameras are a deterrent. I mean, that's a deterrent. And when somebody wants to engage in behavior that is actually, it violates village code, It's
Yeah.
a health and safety issue. And clearly anyone would understand that that's not a bathroom. It's not a public bathroom. It's
Right.
completely glass. So if there's something going on and it's a completely glass building, obviously anyone walking by can make the observation about what's going on. So cameras are a deterrent. And it certainly is something that if it's funneled or fed into a police department that somebody's monitoring, there's an opportunity to go and clear things out. And because it shouldn't be any loitering anyway.
Right.
No, I know. It seems like, I don't know that that's going to solve the issue because that issue would be solved in all community. It would be solved in the city. I mean, every terminal I've been to recently has that issue. So if our goal is to make it usable, then, maybe we should put a porta-john next to it. I mean, like, what are we trying to accomplish? If people need to use the restroom and they've been using that we've had this problem forever. Maybe we need to think about that in, the vicinity, or I don't know.
Well, from what I understand is, the individuals involved in, shall we say, the misuse of the bus stop
Yeah.
are a very small group. I know our police department probably has a pretty darn good handle as to who they are. They are constrained by what they can do. As for the cameras, legality and so forth, that definitely would be a question for Matt Rogers. That's unfortunately not an engineering.
Yeah.
Have these individuals, since the bus terminal has been locked, are there other areas in Ridgewood that we're now having that issue with?
The garage.
The garage, the train station. We've had one individual that we've had to chase throughout the village as he goes about defecating. He was quite open about it. He was observed and caught many times by one of our supervisors. I believe some intervention had occurred and I think help was sought for him. I haven't heard much of not much related to him in the last 3-4 months. So that's good news.
Yeah. They were even in the post office doing it.
Wow.
It's the federal government.
Yeah.
So
Well, that-
Bert, maybe there's some, I'm just a suggestion, and it's kind of a little off topic here, but maybe there's some kind of signage that's stigma-free, because many times we'll find that these are, mental health issues as well. So maybe there's some kind of signage or initiative that stigma-free can take on to, and I know we really stack that with individuals that have that background and experience, professionals in mental health. So maybe there are some recommendations they can make as to what kind of signage and how to encourage this not to happen. So I just put it out there as maybe something that stigma-free can kind of take and run with.
I'll bring it up.
Thanks.
If you have a sample for a sign, if Heather sends it over to me, we'll get it made in the signal division.
Right. So where is the zoning board, Bob?
Under Building Z.
BLDZ.
Okay. So we have about 10 minutes and we have 2 more to go through tonight. Okay.
Is that because somebody has a Board of Adjustment meeting? I know Mike, you have Shade Tree, right?
Right.
Yeah, 7:30.
7:30. And Board of Adjustment 7:30, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to end around 7 because they start coming in about 7:15.
All right.
So.
All right. So Board of Adjustment.
Zoning is pretty straightforward. Just for everyone who doesn't know, the secretary that handles the planning board also handles the zoning board. Gives her 4 meetings a month to go to. Lucky her. Runs smoothly, straightforward. Both Marianne and I are available when the zoning board would like us as professionals at their meetings, and we do attend their meetings, also via Zoom.
Okay. Any questions on Board of Adjustment?
I do. So just under the other professional services, is that, you, Chris, or that?
Now, that would usually be the zoning board attorney. And if the village planning consultant was required to attend. I'm free. I'm cheap.
Okay, no, but the zoning board attorney, isn't he, salary or per meeting?
Per meeting, and then he also bills for each resolution and application he handles.
Okay,
Some of those costs go back to the applicant, but the charge for the meetings comes to the village.
okay.
So that would be an addition because it's showing his charge as 16.2. So the 10 would be additional costs to him on page 20,
Oh, it's Chris, like,
028.
Chris, I'm showing 2,200 for the zoning board attorney, and then I have 10,000 for professional services. I didn't know if that was in addition to the zoning board attorney, other outside attorneys. I have it classified as professional services. I don't know what else.
Is that minutes maybe?
Minutes are done by Jane Wondergem, the secretary. The board attorney, he runs about $500 a meeting. So there's usually 2 meetings, sometimes 3 meetings a month. And then also he charges us if there is a zoning question that develops that he has to spend time on to answer.
Yeah,
Also
that
any litigation.
12,000.
what's the 2,500 for board members?
That may be for the training of the board members.
Okay, that's just to go through their land use class
Yes,
certification.
we've had a couple new members.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see. It does say certification maintenance. Sorry, I see.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then the final is utilities and gasoline.
Hmm.
Which is under-
Okay, we're ready. Everybody finding their page okay?
Yeah, it's under utilities, UTIL.
Does everybody have it out already or no? You're still looking?
I got
I
it.
haven't.
Yeah, I have it.
Pam, you're okay?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Why is there such a jump from last year in the utility?
So why don't we let Chris go through it first?
Yeah.
Utilities are for the gas and electric to heat and light our buildings, and also our telephones
Yeah.
and street lighting. Bulk water, that's payments to Ridgewood Water. And then on the second page, I think, is how the individual accounts are broken out by each facility.
Yes, that's correct.
So you can see like water pollution control, we request 280,000. That's for gas and electric. The water pollution plant actually is our single largest consumer of power in one location for all the motors that are used to operate it. And then, we have a minimum amount, for example, for Shedler. We only asked for 500. Although last year, I think we actually used $966 worth because we had contractors working there. And we hope to also this year.
Okay, Pam, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No. I got to look at this more carefully. Thank you.
Okay.
So, I had the same question as Pam. It seems that on the utility and bulk purchases, we used 374,000 last year, and we're asking for 554,000.
Yeah, but if you look at what was appropriated, what the request and the modification, it's pretty much the same, right, Bob? It's your actual
Yeah,
versus.
Correct.
everything's it kind of like estimate what's going to be used, and then that's just to put the money in place as a placeholder, and then whatever gets used, because prices fluctuate and People use power in different ways and
Okay.
stuff like that.
Okay, but like, for example, last year you had 554,000 in place and you used 374,000.
Yep.
So what happened to that excess?
So it's possible, Lorraine, that the bill for December, for example, has not been processed yet, in which case it would go back to that. This is what was onboarded as of 12/31 on my records.
Okay.
So there's still subsequent billings that could have come in that have not been paid yet.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm not saying it's going to pick up all of it, but this is a pretty good gauge as to where we've been in the last couple of years.
The other factor to consider is in the springtime, Village Hall was closed. That would have reduced the power needs because there were very, very few people actually working in the building.
Okay. No, I mean, that's all understandable, and I understand why you're asking for the same amount this year. I'm just saying, if there is excess money, how much is it, and can we use it for something?
Well, let's put it this way. Between now and the time we get to the final numbers, if this doesn't come close, I'll certainly offer to reduce it. But at
Okay.
least I'll have January and February in my pocket to know, or at least January to know what these actual numbers should be.
Okay.
But I would definitely be cautious about changing anything because we had a highly unusual year that we've come out of, and I wouldn't want to do something and then find out later that we miscalculated based on building closures as a result of COVID. So I think
Right, no, I'm not saying change the numbers. I'm just saying if there's money left over, we should know so that we can use it.
Well, I think what happens is if other departments go over budget, then you do the annual budget transfers like we do towards the end of the meetings and everything.
Oh, okay.
Police overtime goes over what was budgeted, but you didn't use as much gas, then you would probably take some of the gas money that was appropriated and put it over into police overtime to balance the budget.
That's correct.
we're always seeing those transfer sheets that we're transferring money to cover shortages versus overage. So,
One, two, and everything. That's those things that we've been doing.
Okay, so that's the final presentation for tonight. For the wrap up and next steps, our next meeting is February 17th at 5 o'clock. Also, this one will go longer than 7 o'clock, most likely. We have MIS, health, tax assessor, municipal court, fire, police, emergency management, building department, library, and emergency services that night. So a lot of the bigger departments are coming in. And so you'll be getting those sheets when, Bob?
You'll have them before the weekend.
So we'll send them out in the Friday packet to Phil
Actually, you'll have them Thursday.
Thursday.
Friday, we're off Friday.
Thank you. Thursday. So you'll get them on Thursday night in a packet. And
And again, I encourage anybody, you've done it for this meeting, have any questions, call me in advance. I'll be able to walk you through some things so we can keep things moving forward.
And if you have a more involved question, certainly ask it before, because we may be able to do research or get that answer for you and be able to provide it to you at the meeting instead of having to, bring it back to you at a subsequent meeting. So I don't have anything else.
okay.
Oh, Heather, on the 22nd, that's the third budget meeting. That's probably when Parks and Rec would be up.
That's correct.
Yes,
Okay. Thanks.
correct.
All right, Mikey, okay now?
Yeah, but that's usually a popular one and people ask me about it. So as long as, I haven't had an answer. So now I have an answer. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, is there anyone else, any questions before we go back to public comment?
I just have a question about, as I was thinking about it, we talked about signing the contract, the utility contract. So in our budget that we just saw for utilities, do we ever do like a cross-reference to what benefits or what discounts we've gotten in a year, like when they go out to buy? Because we're under that contract, correct, for the buildings?
We are.
Or is it just Municipal Hall? Is it all the buildings? Or just Village Hall?
I'd have
Are
to
you
look
talking
at
about,
the SEM, the New Jersey SEM, that we're
Yeah.
a member of. We'd have to look at it to see
Okay.
exactly which
Okay.
buildings are covered.
Okay. Just
I'd
curious.
be interested in the comparison also.
Didn't you try to do that once, Bob, and it was hard to compare?
You need a degree to figure it out. It's very complicated.
We actually did a big job on that. I mean, we did like a really thorough analysis, but it was hard, right?
Yeah, it's been several years, but it's,
Yeah,
takes a lot of time.
yeah, ton of time. Okay, anything else? Anybody want to know why Steve's so quiet?
He's been muted.
Nothing to say? All right. Like, you get invited to the meeting just to sit there and say nothing. All right. With that, we're going back to public comment, not to exceed 5 minutes per person. Dylan, where's Dylan?
I'm
There-
right here. I'm bringing one in. Rurik.
Very good. Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Hi, Rurik Halaby, 374 Evergreen Place. For one thing, it's very difficult following the discussion because obviously we don't have access to the paperwork, but I thought I'd mention that. Secondly, I urge you to budget $20,000 for our good friend Dylan Hansen to hire a professional firm to redo the website. Our website is horrible, and our website can be used to attract people to Ridgewood as they're moving out of the city. We've been talking about this for years. I have no idea why people are so resistant to having a state-of-the-art website. I urge you to do that. It doesn't take more than $15,000 to $20,000, and it'll be money well worth spending. That's one. Secondly, as far as the public restroom, I honestly feel very, very strongly Ridgewood should have a public restroom unit close to the bus station. You can't lock up a bus station. I mean, people take buses, poor people, waiters, workers, and they have to just face the elements outside. You can't do that. You can't be so cold about the whole thing. So I urge you to, I know Shelter Island, for instance, where we have a summer house, they have a wonderful kind of standalone, a prefabricated unit that is self-cleaning, looks very, very attractive. And there's no reason why Ridgewood cannot have that, whether it's for the homeless or people traveling. People will be using more and more buses, if you will, and we owe it to them. We owe ourselves. And by having signage, I mean, the big word in the last couple of meetings has been signage, like by putting up a sign, you're going to scare someone into not doing something. Guess what? If you have to go, you have to go. So people get desperate. What do you do? So anyway, I urge Chris, and I know Chris Rutteshauser grew up in Switzerland, so he has a good feeling for what they have in Europe, where you have lots of these. Lastly, as far as Shedler, as a taxpayer, how can I tour the Shedler house? I know it's not finished, but having spent $1.5 million on it, with another $750,000 to go to finish the inside, that's $2.25 million. I would love to see where my money has gone. Now, Heather, whether, and I know, maybe someone should be with me, or maybe we should announce an open house where people can visit to see what's going on.
It's currently not available, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it should be available, Heather. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. It should be available.
Just
A lot of money.
And we're just, it's not.
Please don't interrupt me. You're out of order, Mayor, because you're interrupting me. You should not do that.
Warwick, I was trying to help you, honestly.
I don't want you to help me. Let me finish, and then you can comment. Thank
Sure, go ahead.
And then with Shedler, you talk about the SHPO. Did SHPO truly approve the berm? I mean, the berm that looks, unless they're trying to redo what the First World War war sites in Belgium look like, with the trenches and the what have you. It's a horrible thing. Is that how we preserve history? Which also makes me think a member of the Historical Preservation Committee made mention that the Historical Preservation Committee is defunct. Since Ridgewood prides itself and refers to itself as the historic village of Ridgewood, Why can't we have a working historic preservation committee? I think it's just stunning that we don't have one. So, but anyway, as far as Shedler, with all the money that has gone into it, I want to be able to visit the site inside and out. Thank you very much.
Very good. Dylan, anyone else?
That was it.
Okay, so I'm just going to respond to just Mr. Hallaby's comment. So apologies for interrupting you. The village manager said something and I was just trying to wait until we were over, so all good. I wonder, Heather, if it's not possible for Chris to look into the cost on those type of portable bathrooms that Mr. Hallaby suggested, because I think that it is prudent. The Shedler House is not open to the public at this time, nor will it be until it's completed. And as far as Historic Preservation Commission goes, we are working on reorganizing, restructuring, and the result of no commission was a result of a failure to reappoint members, and that left us without a commission. Those are mayor appointments. And so we're working on that diligently and hope to be back very soon. So anything else, anyone? Okay.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Good night.
Everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.